Hello students and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. We'll continue with the economic survey series, moving ahead with chapter number 5, that is medium term outlook. So this chapter basically traces what the growth has been and up to the medium term, that means the coming 5-6 years, for example. So let's dig into it. At the same time, one specific thing that it will focus on is deregulation driven growth, meaning it says that there are a lot of issues or lot of regulations which have sort of hindered the growth. So how we can deregulate certain things? What are those things that needs to be deregulated which can drive growth? So this is what the potential we will look at up to the medium term. So let's first look at India's growth projections. So if you talk about India's growth projections, this is GDP at current prices. So GDP at current prices, if you can see, there is going to be an increase is projected from 3.6% at current prices presently up to 6.3% in 2030. So for the next 6 years, that is why it is considered as medium term. If you look at the exchange rate, now the exchange rate around 82.8, that is 83 rupees. It has been said that by 2030 it will be around 85.6. Having said that, if you look at the exchange rate of dollar, it is already quite high. However, it is fluctuating in nature. It will correct itself, and over a medium term period of 30 years, up to 2030, we may see it up to 85.6 rupees per dollar. Now remember, this is the exchange rate of INR and dollar. The actual purchasing power of dollar is not that high. Actual purchasing power will be around 24-25 rupees because there is a factor of 3.5 or 3.6 when it comes to purchasing power parity. Now, one very important thing is growth in import restrictive measures. Means there is a growth in what? Import restrictive measures. Now, how can we see that? With the help of this graph. This graph basically tells what trade coverage are there for the new import restrictive measures. That means there are certain new import restrictive measures which have been imposed. Now, because of that, what is the trade coverage that restrictions are doing? Means if these restrictions would not have been there, this is the amount of further trade which the world would have seen, but it is not happening because of new import restrictions. So as you can see, in 2012-13 it was at a low level. However, it shot up in 2013-14. Then subsequently it was at a lower level, but again an increase, another increase, and a further increase. It is the highest ever in the last decade. So again, this trade restrictive measures are causing hindrance with respect to the world trade. That means what is happening? People are wanting to trade less and less, be more protectionist. Deglobalization phenomena can be seen here. Now, at the same time, there has been increase in different trade measures. So the number of or let's say the restrictive trade measures. So the number of restrictions have also increased, which can be seen with this graph. New restrictions per year. So if you see new restrictions per year from the year 2009 up to 2019, so for this 10 years, it was sort of stable. But look at 2020. And then it has been stable at a higher level. So too many restrictions are coming up. In the last 5 years, too many restrictions. Here it is around 2,800, less than 3,000. It has gone above 6,000, means more than double. Now these are the different measures. Means what are the restrictive measures that are being taken? So highest is strategic competitiveness, climate change mitigation, and you also have certain non-trade measures as well as the issue of national security. Some of the products may not be taken into account, saying that it is a cause of national security. So even these kind of arguments are given when it comes to restriction in trade. Now this is a very interesting, a very positive thing for India as well as the South Asian economy. This pie chart shows the changing structure or the shift in the industrial production, the kind of shift that is happening. So if you see this first pie chart, majority of it is blue. Now what does this blue indicate? HICs means high income countries. So if you look at it, high income, this was a situation in 2000. So in the year 2000, Now presently we are in 2024, but this is what we have projected for 2030. So this means there is a change of 30 years. So 30 years before and 30 years after this 2000, this is the situation. So what is the situation? In 2000, the situation was majority of the production was done by the high income countries. The blue you can see majority, the gray is very less. But by 2030, what is going to happen is the gray will have almost 50% of the production that is happening. And what is this gray? This gray is nothing but Asia Pacific region including India. So the future looks quite bright for India and its Asia Pacific partners. Now why this shift is happening? Because of technological advancement of Asia Pacific region including India, the Indian subcontinent. Technology is advancing. Other countries are also looking towards Asia and India specifically for their production, for setting up their plants. If you look at Apple and all, they have also now brought in their plants of production in India itself. Why is that happening? Asia is a very attractive market for the goods. So why create somewhere and then transfer to India, produce in India itself and let the Asians and Indians consume it? That is one of the biggest reasons. Of course, other reasons is also that we are also moving towards ease of doing business, facilitating foreign direct investment, increasing the percentage share of percentage of foreign direct investment in different sectors. Recently in this budget, the insurance sector is also opened up for 100% of foreign direct investment from 74. So continuous liberalization, continuous improvement in ease of doing business, plus an attractive market of India in the Asian region is attracting and is going to lead to an increased production, as we can see. Now remember, that is an estimate. It can be slightly less or slightly more at exactly the same, or can deviate by a huge portion also. But a lot of it is not estimation, because the situation in 2024 is also quite different from that is in 2000. So extrapolation is not much, just 5 more years of extrapolation is there. So we will be achieving that at least very closely. Now, changing nature of India's installed capacity, another interesting thing. So India's production of electricity or power, as you may say, is increasing. At the same time, this increase is more beautiful. Why? Because we are reducing the percentage of energy which produces huge amount of carbon. For example, energy or power or electricity that is generated through coal, that is thermal power plants, it is continuously or continually declining. So there was a slight increase, but then you can see the sharp decline, whereas that of the renewable energy, the percentage of renewable energy in the total energy share is increasing continually. Specifically, the solar energy, you can see there is a sharp increase in solar energy power installed capacity in India. So this is a step towards cleaner and greener and energy and sustainable development for the future. Now, the important thing which has to be focused here is types of regulation and way forward. What does this mean? The government has said that we will, in the economic survey, that the economy or the growth of India will be driven by deregulation. What do you mean by deregulation? See, there are a lot of regulations that are present. You want to remove them. Not completely, some regulations will still be there, but you want to remove a lot of regulation which create hindrances. So you will deregulate. So there will be deregulation. Now this deregulation, the guidelines, the rules, the laws, the acts will keep coming as we move forward. All that is not mentioned exactly as to what. Budget has also talked about easing the regulation system, but what exactly will keep unfolding as we move ahead. So let us first at least understand what regulation needs to be deregulated, which the economic survey has clearly stated. So if you look at the legal and the administrative status, it is the municipal laws, the citizen charters. Now, municipal laws, basically the laws made at the district level, the city level, the urban local body level, that is the municipal law, citizen charter. Accountability in public service deliverables or delivery. So there needs to be some accountability that needs to be created. When it comes to land revenue, land reform, town country planning and land ceiling. Now land ceiling, land reform are old words which we have heard a lot, but new concepts with respect to land reform is coming. What is that? See, the land reforms immediately after independence had failed miserably, because land in India is more than an economic asset. There is an emotional attachment. It is a status symbol, not just economic prop asset, but more than that, because of which the people are not wanting to part away with it. That is one thing. So the government has understood that it is better to lease the land rather than to take over the land by evicting others or by giving them some amount of compensation, because people will not want to do that. So the government is coming up with new kinds of reforms. For example, model land leasing law of the Niti Aayog. One specific thing about this model law of the Niti Aayog is that Niti Aayog says that if you give us 1 hectare of fertile agricultural land, we will give you 0.25 hectares of developed land. So maybe here people would be interested because the cost of this land would be higher and that of this is lower. But again, it is still something related to economy, but still you're not just getting the money, you are getting land in return, though it is less in percentage. The another thing is coming up with leasing laws. So instead of selling off the land and making someone else as the owner, you are still the owner. It is just that you have leased it out for agricultural development or for any other thing whatsoever. So the government is moving ahead with the idea that leasing is better than acquiring it. I hope that's absolutely clear. Then building and construction, the town and country planning building bylaws also needs to be checked. Fire safety laws, etc. Bylaws, what are the building bylaws as to what level of floor you can construct? All those things needs to be revised based on the density, population, traffic, etc. needs to be changed. Because right now, if there is a building but you say that the floor space index FSI is just 2, that means if the area is of 2000 square feet, you can construct a building with a total carpet area of just 4000 square feet. Can you do it more? Can you increase the FSI? If you increase the FSI, there will be economy of scales for the businesses to set up their buildings. That is one possibility. But you cannot just like that do it without taking into consideration the population density, the traffic, the place where the land is situated, so on and so forth. However, a complete overhaul or revision is a necessity, at least analyzing and coming up if something can be changed. Then labor laws, new labor laws, labor codes needs to be there for higher and better productivity. Gone are the days when we used to think that more number of hours means more productivity. It is not necessarily. Many studies have shown that, especially in the service sector, etc., it is not necessarily the case. Maybe in industrial sector it's still the case, because the number of hours for the machine will run, of course it will directly yield output, so there need to be someone who runs the machine. But in service sector may not necessarily be the case. Then utilities, water, electricity, building bylaws and municipal laws. So availability on water and electricity for businesses are also very important, without which, imagine you have a electricity ran a business which requires electricity for the machines to run, and there is no electricity for 6 hours today, so your production is down. So this is also a concern. Then transportation, different motor vehicle laws, motor transport worker laws, etc., so as to be getting all these services at a more efficient cost. Then you have logistics, buying and selling, environment and market, and sector specific, especially the food safety and legal metrology. Food safety laws are also being looked at. So these are the various laws the government wants to have a look in order to deregulate. Deregulate means to either remove certain provisions, change certain, modify certain provisions which will drive further growth. So this is what the chapter 5 was all about. Thank you.